Z from MarketWizards.com and eMiningWizard.com with an update at into the second hour on the 16th of January 2019. Reminding traders to use risk capital you can afford to lose. All right, we've had a reversal of sorts, and it's a range type trade. We identified that our key target had been already achieved at the 22 to 25 zone, and be very careful about just holding on to trailers here, that if you took the risk, be prepared. You could give back 5 points to try to make 2 more. So right now we're double bottoming. We're testing yesterday's high, and the market has come back more neutrally now, gone through 1, 2. It rarely goes through 3 all at one time. So I've suggested 17s to 15s. Make sure you are paid. If you are short, very tough trade today, but if you look at the ideas that we told you, that sometimes the higher it goes and you get to a timing trade like we had suggested, you might be better off taking your shot then rather than being the first one to try. So this is an example probably of the later mouse getting the cheese, second or third tries. And this is what I'd said before. Sometimes you just get stubborn, and then it goes and it does it after you have expended your energy. So the first thing we look for is a timing idea and a price idea. And when targets are met, especially those big targets we had talked about, it tends to give you better odds. Doesn't guarantee it, but it certainly gives you better odds on the idea. So much more neutral, but let's take a look at a few other charts for perspective. So here's our 5-minute chart that we'd said is in play, and it's a very fast chart. So now we've gone through 3 lines here, and I said make sure you're paid 15 to 17 because I'm targeting that blue line. As he pointed out, the open was 15.5, so this is a retest of the open. If we put on a 10-minute chart, which I said I also want to look at today, then we can see, okay, we're coming back into this. We know we went over and under before, so let's drop back one more level to the 15. And we can see the 15, I said, reminder, is 12, 12.5, going to be very important as an idea. So this chart is telling us we're still positive, but we're still stretched from this line. And we can see that Charlie probably bought here. I said today, get into the 20s, be careful, because risk and reward. Anybody that's got the retest of yesterday's high, 1375, 14 area, make sure you are paid. Now let's go back to that 30 that we looked at. And you'll remember at the time when we were nearing these highs, I suggested that there was a lot of air in that we were too fast, probably based on the green and red and blue lines, and certainly down here that's held. So this is an example of profits being taken at a target that we had articulated, right? 22 is probably the target. Make sure you're paid. 22 to 25, the target zone. And now here we have it's nothing conclusive other than a pullback in an uptrend. So yeah, have to consider that this is not conclusive that we're going to do a slammer and keep coming. But the odds as we approach that 2632 target start to diminish for risk and reward to just hold on to trailers. And that's part of this process of trading. Markets turn on a dime, but most traders can't. That's why they lose. That's a quote from Jeff Cooper. Here's our 5-minute RTH, our base chart. And we can see this 12.5 idea where I've suggested make sure you are paid because first touch back to this blue line. So it's a good place to make sure that you are paid if you're short. Hit and run, because first of all, we're going against the day's range so far. It's a pullback. We've undermined the early aggressive longs, but it's still a pullback in the range of the day. So you need to make sure that you are paid here. And that shows the power of understanding where we want to do business. So this is why we take a look here and say, okay, well, this is a great pullback, but we're coming into the middle. Remember we talked about symmetry and that sometimes ends the move? This was a perfect idea of that symmetry ending. And because the thrust is up, as a trader, you have to accept that it'll probably, even if you took out the low, even if you came down the rest of the day, you would still need to play hit and run because you're going against the grain. The push is up, not only for the day, but so far for the week and for the year. So it's going to take time anytime we make that new high. And you can't just think about this being a close my eyes unless it's some kind of a news event. And usually it's not. Usually it's just a profit-taking swing. So this is our look from the Globex range and a retest of yesterday's high. That's all we know. On a weekly basis, we reached a resistance and we've come back in for this retest, but we can see that this is our next support, really, this 975, and obviously the overnight low underneath that. So for now, this is our middle box. This is support, this is resistance, and this is our fighting box right now that needs to be resolved. And if we get back up above 17 and stay there, then obviously this is our new fighting box. And this is one of the reasons why that showed up what I was looking at that said make sure you paid the 17 to 15. Because this box has to get broken first. So we look at it in all different views. And here is a look at the RTH chart, just a little knock out the earlies and then bounce right back into the middle. And the burden is on the shorts to undermine and stay under. Can't just come back and test it. You got to get back under it. So anybody that had second opportunity to buy today, don't think about it as maybe we'll get that 32 target. Think about this as a bounce with the trend. And like I said, maybe we need some time to consolidate. Because as we get closer to risk and reward ideas, it gets tougher. Here's our angels and demons. 22.25 is our demon. Middle back here at 13 of the angel. Angel is 04. We said that this morning, that we're assuming this is our support zone until broken. And tends to come back to the middle. And you've got to get through that middle. And these areas before that previously were resistance, first time back, will tend to become supportive. So RTH, we've had two-way day. So 12s and 12 to 14 range yesterday. Give it a point or so. You know, you have to have a little bit of wiggle room. It usually will undermine it just a little. That's the confusing part for most traders. They say, oh, it's under 1375, but it has to keep following through. And that's why I usually will give it. If it's 14, I'll say, okay, let's use like 12, 12 and a half. Idea, make sure you're paid. Just give it that point or so, because I call it fuzzy logic. So as long as we're up here in this neighborhood, until we decisively come back, these traders from yesterday are wrong if they were looking to short, especially these traders at the end of the day. Right? This last high over here. Oh, yeah, good. We're going to come down. Whoops, no, we didn't. So you want to pay attention, not just to the high, but the ones just underneath it. Those are important areas. And look how good this is so far still. So this is our 30-minute chart. You always want to keep a power chart on. You want to be able to flip. Here's our 5, and you see how it dries up in here? This was what we had talked about earlier. This area was going to be an important zone. You can see that. And then we'll go back to something and say, okay, so are we migrating to, because we're going over and under the blue line, are we migrating perhaps to the 10? And we can see how we've come just under this, but substantially it's holding. So then we say, okay, maybe we're back to our base chart, which is the 15. And here we are. And this 15 chart, terrific chart, showing us make sure you're paid. Don't get greedy. Right? I mean, this says it all. Too fast, green, boom, comes right back through, green, red. Very hard to go through 3 lines all at once. And so now we're back to more normal, looking at the 15-minute chart and saying, okay, yeah, we're over and under. This we know is our big support still. And now if you want to go back and look at a 5 again or whatever, you can. But we've started that consolidation process rather than just the runaway day. And a rabid dog day is one typically that will not close its half gap, but it won't give you this type of a swing either this early in the day. You know, rabid dog day is going to give you 5, 6 points. That's it on a pullback. So much more neutral, although we're still obviously in an upthrust, much more neutral that we've range traded IB. And so that's what you say. Okay, so I guess this is our current range. Okay, so fairly neutral. Range trading the IB. I suggest that today is probably one of those tougher days for most traders because we came out, looked like would never end, and then bang, we ran into our resistance target, and now we're backing and filling. And the goal of the game is to try to take out a couple of points as best we can over and over. Get your VIG, which we call 4 or 5 points a day per contract. And you have all day, and you have the entire range of the day's range in a swing to do that. Most traders are too interested in calling targets and say, hey, I was right. Meanwhile, that's not the game. The game is how do we, with minimal risk, take something out of the swings during a day. Today's challenge for the longs is risk and reward. Closer we get to 32. The challenge for the shorts, we have shown no sign of starting to make lower lows and lower highs. Because so far in this swing, this is, big target that's been achieved. but still more upside available. All right, anybody that is playing, let's see, 11 o'clock, anybody that is playing, let's think somewhat neutrally. Don't know if we can get to the half gap target. Zeke identified it as 10. So anybody that wants the half gap target, going to need several rotations. If we're lucky, we can get there. And you need to use hit and run to get there. Don't know that the market has reversed. All we know is the market is doing a pullback in a range. I've got 13 and a quarter in here as the middle. So this 13 to 12 for sure. You've got to be paid, and you win with trailers. Right now, the high has been abandoned, but the day is early. We said paid 22s for sure. That was our main target, 22 to 25. Still very neutral. You need hindsight to be able to confirm ideas usually, unfortunately, but that's what we accept as part of the risk in this game. If we get a pullback of substance, totally different than if we get just a wimpy type pullback, because that would leave the afternoon to still try to go up. So I'm not thinking about an all-day sell or an all-day buy. And we definitely need to keep an eye on this chart for now. So we are in this box. And these are very tough type trades when they come out like a gun and then reverse. And all you need, though, is part of one of these swings. So you can spread your trades out. You don't have to do everything this morning. You can take some time and look at it this afternoon or lunch and see new ranges as they set up. So based on the the mechanics of trading, we know that this is very important support. Half gap idea to 12 and a half, 13. So anybody that's come short side, understand that there's a lot of time left in the day, and the hit and run approach probably will serve us best if you're going to trade for now. And as we approach this afternoon, don't forget there may be some movement with Beige Book. Not sure. I really haven't noticed that there's been that much of an edge to expect big moves with Beige Book. But we'll take a look then. So far, the 5-minute chart has come back home to the blue line. And we're still stretched off of, obviously, the rain line. So we use this for slope, and if we start to go over and under, then we consider that much more neutral. But for now, above it, you got to respect it. Angels and demons. RTH look. Undermined the angel, and a new one was formed immediately in the same area, this 18 area. And your gap, for those of you who are newer, your gap is this close down here, 4.5. to 575, which was a late close. And it is possible to close that gap today. Question is always, will we? I think the key is obviously, for now anyways, days high. And then obviously this 20 to 22 zone. If that can hold, then we've got a shot to get back half gap first. You got to take out that 07 before you get down here. And it may not happen at all today, but I'm looking at island gap right now that we've got. Those of you who are newer in the business, these are island gaps when you have a one gap up and then you got another gap up. And there's a squeeze machine when they do it this way. Right? Because yesterday we had a differential, about a 5-point differential between RTH and Globex. So they've used this to squeeze. No, you don't. Scene of the crime. Angel. Up, up, up. So for now, all we know is we've got a narrow range that is being traded for RTH. And there's a lot of stuff going on with news, and we'll have to wait and see later this afternoon if we get any kind of a meaningful pullback. But I remind you, catch pieces of the trades. Charlie likes buying once it's clear that the market's going up, up, up. You may have some of your favorite traders on Twitter that you know who seem to be wrong all the time, and follow them and play opposite what they're thinking. This is our slope line. Gotta beat that. All right, I hope you're having a reasonable day. Reminder, as you learn this business, don't be in a rush to trade, especially if you're new. You know, the calls we make are based on odds over time. They're things that we have seen and over, and yet every day is different. So you'll see patterns that you've seen before and say, I think, and whatever. Just like that 12.5 idea. But you know what? Truthfully, there are no guarantees. And if this is a business, you can get hurt badly if you panic. You have to be able to say, no, I'm not going to give you my whole body. I'll give you my fingernail. I'll give you my little finger. And I'm not going to let you chop my head off, because your capital is king. So learn the business before you start to take trades that you may not be emotionally ready yet to handle. And for now, we're still trying to hold that breakout. Yesterday's high. So this is going to be key in today's trading later today too, whether we can get back under it and start to come back and neutralize today's push. Target 32 still available. And if we hold this zone, then that's a possibility. But the more we start to undermine this, then the less likely that becomes today's target. Although it has shown up as available today. So now we're going to look for information, and right now the market's consolidating.